Alright, let's start the paper 2 now. 2018 O-level paper E-Maths. Alright, so write a single fraction in the simplest form of this thing. Okay, so be quite simple. 5t squared over v multiplied by v cubed over 25t. Cancel the t's, cancel the 5 and the 25. There will be tv squared over 5. Okay, next, make the same denominator. So the first fraction multiply by y plus 3, the second fraction multiply by 3 minus 2y, and then put them together under the same denominator of 3 minus 2y over y plus 3. Simplify them, so then I got 4y plus by 10y. Okay, you know what, just expand them one by one. 4y plus by 12 minus by 15 plus by 10y. Okay, and simplify again. 14y minus by 3. Okay, there is nothing that looks like you can factorize. If you can factorize the numerator, you might happen to see that they will cancel with something on the denominator. Okay, so make sure you check. Just like question B, I'll factorize this into 4x plus 3, 4x minus 3. Denominator, you do cross factorization, you will get, okay, I think I'll rather be careful here. This maybe 2x times by 2x. I need negative 9x here. Yeah, I don't think that actually works. How about, wait, what if I take 2x and 2x, but this is 9 and 1. 2x times 9 is 18x. No, it doesn't work. Okay, maybe we need to try something larger. 4x and x. 9 times 1. No, not 9 times 1. 3 times 3. Yeah, this will be perfect. Put a negative here. And then this is a 3x. Together you got negative 9x. So then I got 4x plus by 3 and then x minus by 3. Cancel. You'll get 4x minus 3 over x minus 3. Nice. Next, solving this, cross multiply them. So you got 20 equals bracket 2x plus 5 bracket x plus 1. Okay, expand. You'll get 2x squared plus 2x plus 5x. Let me just skip a little bit. Yeah, I got this. So put the 20 together with the rest of them. Yeah, and then from here you do cross factorization again. Okay, you'll get, okay, let me do a quick solving here lah. Yeah. I believe all of you know how to do cross factorization. Okay, hence the solutions are 3 over 2 or negative 5. Okay, this would be nice. Okay, this is quite difficult. I just realized that 2018. Is it 2018? Yes, it is 2018. The paper is not giving you an answer space, meaning to say that either I actually squeeze everything here or actually I make a new page. Maybe just make a new page. Set the paper into grids. Okay. Alright, let's see. 2016, Ken earned a total amount of 44,000. In 2017, he earned this amount per month. Calculate the percentage of increase in his earnings. Okay, this one should be quite simple. 2017, 3,900 each month. You multiply that by 12. You'll get 46,800. So percentage increase is actually the difference divided by the original. The difference is clearly 2,800, and then you divide by the original. Okay, find the decimal value of this. I got 7 over 100. Okay, if you make it into percentage, just put down 7%. Okay, bank offers a savings account with a rate of compound interest and then 2.35% per year. Ken invest 6,500 in this account. He leave the money for 6 years. Find out the total amount of interest he earns. Okay, the formula is A equals to P bracket 1 plus by 2.35% close bracket power of n. This is compounded per year. Okay, so 6 years total, compound 6 times, you power it by 6. Alright, then this is just a matter of pressing calculator. You got 6969.10. Okay. However, the question is asking you to find the interest. So the interest must be the difference 6969.10 minus by 6,500. This will be should be the difference between them. Okay, wait a minute, I actually noticed that I do a typo in my calculator. So then this one should be 7472.06. Yeah, anyway, I'm going to minus them by the 6,500. That will be totaling into 972.06. Okay, I just put it into the nearest cents. Okay, the exchange rate between the Singapore dollar and euro is this, and then exchange rate between pound sterling to Singapore dollar is that. Ken is planning to go to a trip to Europe, so you are going to use euros. He finds that the hotel price is this: London hotel and Paris hotel. By comparing the exchange rate, explain how he can tell that the hotel London is actually costing more. Okay, so I just need to convert into the Singapore dollar so I can compare them both. For London hotel is actually a pound sterling. 1 pound is for 1.97 Singapore dollar, multiplied by 145, and that will be 285.65 Singapore dollar. Okay, and then the other comparison is $1 for 66 cents of euro. Okay, I need to make this into 145 euro. Now, if you are not so used with converting, right? Okay, usually I just convert them into 1 first. I want it to be 1 unit, and to make 1 is very simple. You divide by 0.66. Okay, divide by your own self lah. Right? I do the same for the left hand side. Divide by that. I got 50 over $33. Okay, I put in fraction first because I don't want to correct into decimal places just yet. Okay, and then multiply by 145 because I want 145 euros, and do the same thing for the number on the left, and that will total into 7250 over 33, or that is around 219.69. Okay, if we say he wants the cheaper one, well, he should go for the Paris hotel that actually costs only euro. Okay, yeah, that is the calculation part. But if the question asks you explain, you are actually have an option to tell them about why one is actually more expensive, why London hotel is more expensive. The reason is that tell them that the nominal value is 145, but we clearly can see that to change to pound sterling you need more Singapore dollar. Hence, London hotel must be more expensive compared to Paris hotel. But I believe that all of you will actually calculate it regardless. So yeah, why not, right? Okay, anyway, next. Ken booked 3 nights in the hotel of London and then 4 nights in the hotel in Paris. He pays using credit card. The credit card company converts the prices to Singapore dollar and charge 1.8% for the currency conversion. Find out the total amount of what he pays, including the card fee. Okay, so includes everything basically. Alright, so just now we actually have the 285.65. This is the amount of price for hotel in London. You multiply by 3. Okay, And then don't forget to multiply by 1.8% conversion rate, but maybe later. Okay, let's just put it in the very end. Okay, because in the end you're going to multiply every single thing by extra 1.8%, right? Just do it later. Okay, next is the 219.69 for the cost of hotel in Paris. Okay, and then multiply this whole thing by 101.8%. Okay, if you multiply like this amount, okay, you are going to get the final amount immediately. Okay, otherwise you actually just multiply by 1.8%, and you need to add back into the original amount, which is actually really long-winded. Okay, so multiply by this amount of the percentage for a shortcut. Okay, I didn't use the page. Okay, so next is a bakery makes fruit pies. The bakery operates 7 days a week. The metrics are shown here. Evaluate the matrix of P, which is actually 7 of M. Well, you multiply everything by 7. So 490, 280, 210, 350, 210, and 210. Okay, simple enough. Okay, okay, before we continue, please understand that what is P actually represents. P is 7 times by M. They mention about 7 days a week. So this is basically the number of pies that is actually sold every single week. Okay, the sizes and also the type of the pie that they sold. Small pie, medium pie, and large pie. Each of them has a cost. Okay, next you need to put it in a 3 times 1 matrix. So, well, no issue here. Next, matrix P times N. So I just need to multiply this whole thing and this whole thing. Be careful when you multiply matrix. Okay, it's a free mark as long as you are careful. 2 rows and 3 columns, 3 rows and 1 column. Okay, so then the result will be a 2 rows and 1 column. Okay, so I'm going to prepare them first like this. Okay, maybe we need a bigger space lah. Okay, now the first row, 490 times 0.75. Okay, maybe I'll just take note about the multiplication. This times this, 280 multiply 1.5 and 210 multiply by 2.25. This will result into, okay, this is just calculator works lah. So I'll just skip those steps. I'll get 1260. Okay, that is row 1, column 1. Okay, notice that when you multiply matrix, it actually just fit with what you are looking for. The number that you are looking for here is the 1260, which is located on the row 1, column 1, which is why you multiply the first row of the matrix and the first column of the matrix. Okay, yeah, likewise for the second row and first column. So you take the second row of the first matrix and multiply it with the column respectively. Okay, again, this is just some calculator work. You look at 1050. Should be no issue there. Alright, state what each of the elements of T actually represent. Okay, this is obviously the cost. Okay, we are just multiplying the cost and the amount of the pies. Okay, and also particularly, right, there are actually 2 numbers here which actually are correlated with the apple and the cherry pies that they're actually selling. Okay, meaning to say that this is the total cost of making the apple pies and cherry pies every 7 days. Don't forget to tell them about the every 7 days. Okay, yeah, total cost of every type of pie. Next, the bakery sells each pie for 40% more than the cost. 1 week they sold 6/7 of each size and 4/5 of each size for apple pie and cherry pie respectively. The unsold is thrown away, given away. Okay, I don't think they're going to give it away. They're going to throw it away, obviously. Alright, so okay, what do we do here? Obviously, first I need to take the amount of the cost. Okay, this amount of cost you're going to multiply with 140%. Each of them I'm going to multiply by 140%. And then I'm also going to multiply by 6/7 for the first row, which is the apple pie. Second row, I'll multiply by 4/5 for the cherry pie. Okay. Alright, so how do I multiply them without ruining the matrix? Okay, that is actually the challenge lah. Every time of matrix questions like this. Okay. And also remember that what we want is the total amount of the profit by the end of the calculation. Okay, so meaning to say that my final answer should be just a single number, not a matrix. Must be a single number. My plan here is I will multiply a 1 times 2 matrix with a 2 times 1 matrix. Why? Because they actually fix 2 and 2 here, right? Which means that I'm going to be left with a 1 times 1 matrix, which is a singular number. Okay? The 2 times 1 matrix can be our 1260 and 1050. Okay? And then the 1 times 2 matrix, 1 row and 2 columns can be our fractional, 6/7 and then 4/5. Now you might wonder about how about the 40%? We want to increase by 40%, right? You need to multiply by 140%. Now, this is actually just a single number, a numerical. You can actually just multiply by 1.4 in the very left corner here. Okay? It doesn't have to be a matrix. Okay? Remember, it doesn't have to be a matrix. The one that has a matrix here is only these two. Yeah? And then you multiply the matrix, 1.4, I just keep it. The matrix I multiply, 6/7 times by 1260 plus by 4/5 multiply 1050. Actually, I'll just get the final number lah. It will be 2688. Yeah. Okay. That is the total amount of money collected. Hence, to find the profit, you just take this number minus by the cost incurred. The cost is actually this, the one that I put in the green color, the T. Okay. Both of them, 1260 and 1050, totaling into 378 per week. Actually, that's very small. Okay. Alright. Next. These are the first 4 terms of a sequence. Plus by 6, plus by 6, plus by 6. Okay, simple. Find an expression of the nth term of the sequence. A sequence formula is always plus by 6 of n. Alright. You see, if the jump is -3, then you put -3n. If the jump is +6, then you plus by 6n. Okay. Now there is a number before this. Okay. To find this number is actually you step back 1 time from your very first term, and you minus it by 6. Therefore, you'll get a 5 here. Correct. Okay. Of course, 5 is actually not part of the sequence, but that is what I actually need to put in here, such that I got the nth term formula of the sequence. Okay, so remember this, plus by 6n, okay, for the jumps, and then you find out the term before the first term, 0 term if you may. Okay, and yeah, that's the formula. Explain why it's not possible to get a sequence that is a multiple of 3. Well, tell them that the sequence itself is actually made by 5 plus by 6n. You cannot factorize anything that has to do with 3. Okay, let's just say that the sequence is 6 plus by 6n. You can factorize the 3. Okay, and then you are good. Okay, yeah, tell them that since it's not factorizable by 3, hence it's not possible to get a term that has a multiple of 3. Next, the nth term of a different sequence is given to be this. Use the formula to find the T5. Okay, this is just submit the number. 20 minus 1 divided by 205 minus by 25, which is 19/180. Yeah, the value of TK can be simplified to 7/32. Well, that means to say that there is a certain term, okay, and they are actually following the formula also, and they will end up with 7/32. This is what they actually mean. Okay, the result of the sequence is 7/32. Yeah, from here you just cross multiply. 1, 2, 3, 4. 128n minus 32 equals 205 multiplied by 7. 1435 minus 35n. Yeah, put them together on the same side. Okay, and then you'll get the answer. Okay. Oh, I forgot one little detail. They actually mentioned T of K. If you write T of 5, then you put n equals 5, right? Since they mentioned T of K, by right, we need to put K here, okay, instead of n. Yeah, small detail, but I think it's quite crucial to understand the question. Okay, just solve this, you'll get k equals 9. Yeah. Find the least value of n such that Tn is greater than 1. Okay, so then I got 4n minus 1 over 205 minus 5n greater than 1. Okay, you need to cross multiply. Take note that actually you cannot just anyhow cross multiply an inequality, but I think secondary don't really mind about it. So because yeah, we don't have any other method other than doing that. So let's just close one eye. I got this thing. Simplify this, I got 22 8 over 9. Well, n must be greater than this, so the smallest value of n that is available is 23. Next, ABCD is a parallelogram. Coordinates of the vertex of C is this. Well, this actually tells us that OC is actually 3, negative 1. Find the position vector of vertex B. They are looking for OB. Okay, we have a lot of information here, particularly BC and OC. Okay, I don't like to use the A yet because I have little information about point A for now. Okay, I know that ABCD is a parallelogram lah, so later maybe we draw it. To get OB, I just take I start with OC plus by CB. Okay, think about it like connecting the alphabet. C and C connected, and then the first alphabet is O, the last alphabet is B. That's why you can get OB from this addition. OC as 3, negative 1. CB as, well, the negative of that, so negative 4 and positive 3. There will be negative 1 and positive 2. Okay. Next, find out the point A and the point D. So far we only have OC and OB. Okay, this is gonna be important. And then you need to find point A. Okay, well, since we have OB, then that will be very helpful. I need to find OA. So OA will be OB plus BA. Yeah. Okay, connecting the alphabet. OB is negative 1, 2. BA is the opposite of AB. Hence, you put negative 6 and negative 2. That will be negative 7 and 0. So that's the point A, negative 7, 0. Okay. Now, to find point D, I think we need to draw it. Okay. By drawing it, it will be very clear what do they actually what are they actually hiding. A, B, C, D. Okay, I have the coordinates of A, B, and C. Okay, so how do I get D? I can use multiple of method. I can say for first example, I can choose AD vector equals to BC vector. Okay, BC vector is the 4, negative 3. Okay, so then we have vector AD. Okay, let me write it a little bit clearer. I want OD. Okay, they want to find point OD. So I take OA plus by AD. Yeah, very simple, right? So, okay, sorry if my writing is so small. I have little to no space. Yeah, so I got this thing. And then I'll get 10 and negative 1. Okay, and that's the coordinate of D. Wait, let me check for a little bit. Wait, point OA is actually the negative 7, 0 lah. Why I actually picked that number? Yeah, almost careless here. Negative 3 and negative 3. Okay, coordinate of D is negative 3, negative 3. Find the angle of BAD. Okay, finding the angle now. That's interesting. They are asking you to find the angle. Never thought that they will ask you that in a vector question. Yeah. Okay, you know what? This question actually reminds me of an A-Maths question. Honestly, I don't think it's actually a good question to be asked in vector. You'll need to use some choreometry here in order to get the final answer. And I think it's a bit difficult. Okay, I highlighted all the points that we have lah, the important points, A, B, C, D. Okay, so let's try to sketch a little bit of this. Point A is a negative 7, 0. so it's quite far away. Negative 7, this is point A. Point B is a negative 1,2. And then point D is negative 3, negative 3. So they want BAD, this angle here. Oopsie. Okay, let's connect this is B to A and then A to D. Alright, you are looking for this angle BAD, the entire angle then. Okay, well, in that case, I need to find two angles. Okay, let me zoom in here. You want to find the two angles. First is actually the one here, and then second is the one over here. Okay, now to find the angle, let's just call it this angle as alpha and beta. Okay, the first I'll just use a triangle. Actually, the second I'll also use triangle. Okay, take a look at the first triangle for the alpha. The height of the triangle is 2 units, and the base of the triangle is 6 units. Okay, how do I know it's 6 units? It's from negative 7 into negative 1, right? That's a 6 units distance. To find alpha, I'll just use tangent alpha equals opposite over adjacent. From here, I got my alpha. Tangent inverse of 2 over 6. I got 18.43. And then the angle beta, kinda the same thing. The height is 3 units, okay? And then the base of the triangle is 4 units. Okay, same method. So then tangent beta equals to opposite over adjacent. Beta is therefore 3/4 is 36.86. Okay, these two you sum together, you'll get 55.29 or just 55.3 degree basically. Okay, I think this question is a bit too difficult to be coming out in the E-Maths. Okay, it's more appropriate to come in A-Maths. I believe that that year when this question comes out, a lot of people didn't do, unless maybe they're doing A-Maths. And even if they do A-Maths, right, they might still have to struggle a bit. Anyway, calculate the length of diagonal of BD. Well, this one is actually more reasonable. You are finding distance of 2 points. So distance is square root of the coordinate of B and D. B is this one, D is this one. So negative 3 minus 1 bracket square plus by negative 3 minus 2 bracket square. So you got root of 29. And simplify that into 5.39 units. Okay, A-Maths student, pay attention. Do not leave your answer as square root 29. Okay, I know that A-Maths student, you learn surds. Okay, so square root 29 doesn't look so weird, but you need to make it to decimal places lah in E-Maths. Next, empty water tank has a capacity of 3,500 liters. Pump A can fill in X liters per minute. Pump B can fill in this amount. Oh, I have space. Okay, I might write it down there. Okay. So we have pump. Okay, I like to use table to present my answer, so it also helps me to understand. Okay, fill the tank X liters per minute. So the amount of water that comes in, right? Okay, wait, the question is asking me what? Find out the expression, the number of minutes. Okay, both of them. Okay, so first is a filling rate. Okay, rate is actually about time. So what amount of volume per minute? X liter per minute, X minus 10 per minute. The amount of tank capacity is 3,500. So the time needed will be the amount capacity divided by the filling rate. That is 3,500 over X and 3,500 over X minus 10. Okay, I think most of you should be okay with this thing. Okay, this is the answer for A and B, by the way. It takes 21 minutes longer to fill the tank with pump B than it does using pump A. So the time of pump B is actually longer. Longer means bigger. Alright. So I'm trying to hold myself from laughing now. Okay, please forget what I said. Anyway, big number minus by small number equals 21 minutes. Okay, pay attention on the timing lah. They actually use minutes. for the whole question. Okay, so I'll just keep using minutes then. Okay, and the question is asking for minutes also, so just coincidence I think, or just make the same denominator. Okay, and I expand a little. I skip some method, just a little bit, over x and then x minus 10 equals 21. Okay, so from here I just need to expand and then show that I got the number. This and this will cancel each other, by the way. Okay, so 21 multiplied by those brackets, which is x squared minus 10x. So then I got 21x squared minus by 210x minus by 35,000 equals 0. And divide them by 7. Okay, why do I know that? Because I want a 3x squared. That's the only logical way to get them. Divide by 7 and divide by 7. Tada! Solved already. Okay, next is part D. Solve the question. Solve the equation. Don't use calculator. Okay, you need to show your working. Remember, they give you a 4 marks, not because that you can use calculator here lah. I mean, you might want to scavenge some marks. Show some working, so that they can give you the marks that you really sought for. B squared minus by 4 times A times by C divided by 2A. Well, I think you know how this goes. So you got 30 plus minus of root 60,900 over 6. Then you divide them into two possible answers, one with a plus and one with a minus. 46.13 and the negative 36.13. Of course, you reject this answer. It doesn't make sense to have such a negative number in a question about volume. Okay, calculate how long it will take to fill the tank if they use the pump together. Alright, I was actually expecting this. Okay, so pump A and B are together. Okay, so what is the filling rate then? How many water is actually filling the container per minute? Well, that means to say that you are going to put them together, x plus by x minus 10. Okay, well, that is a 2x minus 10. So then the time needed is 3,500 divided by 2x minus 10. Okay, so for the part E, the question asks you to find out what? Find out the time. So you just take 3,500 divided by 2x, 46.13 here, minus by 10. Alright, so let's do this. I got 42.58. 548 minutes. They want to correct it into minutes and seconds, nearest 10 seconds. So that will be 42 minutes plus by half minute. And you know that half minute is around 30 seconds. Okay. I mean, you are correcting this to the nearest 10 seconds. And that's the answer. Okay, I think the part E is the part that a lot of people do not know how to solve. Okay, when the pumps are pumping together. Pump is pumping. Alright, next, question 7. You have a diameter of AB. CD is another diameter. Both of them contain the same point. Show that the triangle OAC is congruent to the triangle of OBD. Okay, so I need 3 properties. First is that they have the same angle there. Okay, and next, they have the same side. Okay, and last, they also have another same side. Side angle side. Tell them that the size that I pick is basically the radius of the 2 circles. Okay, so it's easy to spot that they are actually equal in length. Please write down the full presentation. Okay, the radius of the large circle is 7. The angle of OAC is 30 degrees. This one also. Calculate the area of the triangle of OAC. Okay, the radius of the large circle is 7. Okay, one thing you need to know is that AC and BD are tangent to the small circle. Hence, tangent and also connected to the center, ACO and ODB are actually 90 degrees. Okay, you have to tell them about this property of circle. Okay, hence I can use the property of, suddenly I forget the name, trigonometry, Tokasu. Okay, 30 degree, and then you want to find the area. Well, in that case I need the opposite and I also need the adjacent. Well, let's do it one by one. Sine 30 degree equals to opposite divided by hypotenuse. So then OC is 7 times by half. Next, cosine 30 degree equals to adjacent divided by hypotenuse. So then 7 times by cosine 30, 6.06. Yeah, hence the area is half times base times height. Height is AC, base is 3.5. You'll get 10.6. Okay, corrected into 3SF. Wait, 3SF. Yeah, correct. Okay, next. Calculate the shaded area. Oh, okay. Well, I was actually thinking that it's actually just the ring, but of course it's not. Okay, so let me clean up a little bit here so we can see more. Okay, both of them are symmetrical, by the way. So to find out the shaded area, I'll just find the ring. Okay, and then minus by this part here. Okay, I need to find out that part first to make it easy. Okay, to find out that part, my plan is actually to take the area of the triangle that we got, the 10.6, minus by the sector. Okay, the sector OD. Okay, let's name this as point E. Okay, yeah. So okay, or you can tell them that about the sector in the circle. Okay. By the way, this is 60 degree and 60 degree. Okay, I do know this because they are actually 90 degree and 30 degree on the other angles. Okay, so then to find the area of the sector, the sector area is 60 over 360 times by pi r square. The length of OC is 3.5, like this. Okay, 1 over 6 times by pi 3.5 square. Alright, I got 6.414. So then the, okay, how do you actually call that area lah? Okay, EDB. Yes, area EDB. Okay, don't be sure to name some of the points on your own lah. Okay, it's sometimes required for you to finish the question in O level. Just name them properly. Okay, named EDB. You want to find the area, you just take the 10.6 and then you minus by the sector area. Okay, so 10.6 minus by that, I got 4.1859. So just correct this into 4.19. Okay, so now I need to find the ring area. Big circle pi r square minus small circle pi 3.5 square. Okay, so pi times by 49 minus by pi times 3.5 square, 115.45. Okay, hence the area that we want is 115.45 minus 4.19 minus 4.19. You do it twice, so you'll get somewhere around 107. Okay, corrected to 3SF. Okay, yeah, that should be good enough. Alright, next, pyramid. The base is 15 square also. The vertical height is 20. Alright, cool story. Show that AE is 22.6. Okay, I might need to add some lines over here. Okay, I'm going to connect the diagonals. It's just for to make a good show for you. Okay, so this is the height actually always drop to the center of the base of the pyramid. Okay, remember that. Need to find AE, huh? Okay. Well, if you want to find the length of AE, know that this is a 90 degree here, 3 dimension, so kind of hard to see. Okay, but yeah, should be quite okay lah. I'm going to do Pythagoras theorem. I only know the height of the triangle over here. Let's call the center as point O. Okay, I know the height EO 20. I need to find the length of AO. So I need to find the length of AC and then divide by 2. AC square equals 15 square plus 15 square. Pythagoras theorem, standard. Okay, so 15 square plus 15 square, 450. I'll just get the AC, which is root of 450, 21.21, and therefore AO must be 10.6 cm. Okay, 10.6. Hence, to find AE, I just do Pythagoras again. AE square is 10.6 square plus by 20 square. I'll get 512.5, and then don't forget to actually square root them. 22.6. Next, calculate the angle of BAE. Okay, so now we have AE already, 22.6. This is a right angle, right pyramid. What do I mean by that is all of the lengths of AE, BE, CE, and DE are all equal. Okay, so I'll put 22.6 on the EB also. AB is 15. I want to find the angle of BAE. Now this is basically just an isosceles triangle. Okay, imagine that this is the triangle BAE. Okay, and if I want to find the angle on the top, I just need to do cosine rule. Okay, so then 15 square equals to 22.6 square plus 22.6 square minus by 2 times by this and times by the other, and then cosine BAE. Okay, let's just call it cosine theta lah. Okay, well, there's a lot of things that you're gonna move over here. Okay, fast forward, you're going to get 70.7 degree. Okay, optionally you also can make a tuakaso. You make a right angle triangle using the triangle EAB. Like you connect to the center of AB. Okay, and then yeah, you can actually say that the center of it is 7.5 on the base. Okay, then you just do tuakaso. Okay, I think that is actually faster and easier. Find the area of the pyramid. Okay, so I'm going to take half AB sin C for the triangle area of EAB. Half times by 22.6 times 22.6 sine of 70.7. Okay, times by 4 plus by square below 15 square. Yeah, just key this in calculator, you're gonna get 866 connected to 3SF. A smaller pyramid is removed from the top. You can see the remaining here. The vertical height is actually 4. Find out the area of the top PQRS. Okay. This is interesting. Okay, now this one is quite difficult if you do not know how to do it in a shortcut manner. Okay, now let's take a look at this pyramid from the side view. Okay, just like how I drew the EAB here just now. Okay, I want to draw a bit larger though. Okay, this is the EAB such that the base is 15. Now I actually cut somewhere such that from the height of 20, right? The height was 20. Okay, you actually cut a little bit left here. Okay, and then the height. Okay, it's not really. Yeah, this is 4 on the bottom. and then 20 on the whole thing. Okay, let's just put 16 over here. Okay, now you see here, you need to actually tell them that we actually have a similar triangle. Okay, the ratio of the two similar triangle, small triangle and the big triangle, the small triangle with a height of 16 and the big triangle with a height of 20, this will be 4 over 5. That's the ratio of the triangle. Okay, now I want to find the ratio of the volume. Oh wait, the area, they want the area. Okay, the area will be 4 square over 15 square. You know, to find the ratio of the area, you square them. 16 to 25. So what does that mean? Now the 25 is actually for the area that is owned by the whole pyramid. And the whole pyramid actually includes the ABCD, right, which is actually the base. So here, the ratio here is 25 units square. Okay, not cm square lah. And then, for the smaller pyramid, okay, that is the result of the cutoff. Okay, if you're wondering, the smaller pyramid is this one here. Okay, the bigger pyramid is the whole thing. Again, this is the side view. Okay, the bigger pyramid, the area is 16 units square, and that is actually the one on the top here. It is 16 here. Okay, yeah. So how do we find the area of PQRS? Simple. Use the ratio 16 over 25 multiplied by the area of ABCD, 15 square. Okay, because it must follow the same ratio. Basically, you'll get 144 cm square. Okay, otherwise, yeah, I am not so sure how else do you do this lah. Maybe there's another way, but I believe this is the simplest to approach. Alright, next, Chow is researching maternity care in a hospital. She searched the internet to find the same information. She finds information about the mass of 50 newborn babies. Wow, there are some that is 4.5 kg. That's a fat baby. Alright, only a few of them, I guess. Copy and complete the group frequency here to the masses of the babies. Alright, cool. From 2 kg to 2.5 kg, you actually see it here. Okay, that is actually 4. Alright, that makes sense. And then 2.5 to 3 here. Okay, 3 is actually all the way connected to here, which is 15. Okay, just now was here, which is 4. So 15 to 4 to 15 is 11. That's why they put 11 here. Okay, next is 3 to 3.5. Okay, I think this is the 3.5's location. Okay, and that will reach me to the 34. So 34 minus by 15, that's the range of mass between 3 to 3.5 kg. That will be around 19 babies. 3.5 to 4. Okay, is here. Okay, let's just do it quickly. There's a lot of question. This is 46. 46 to 34 is 12. And finally, 50 to 46, there are 4 babies. One of them is 4.5 kg. Heavy. Find the estimate of the mean mass of each baby. Okay, so the mean mass, you need to find the new middle of each of the range. So you introduce a new number here. Okay, this is how you do the estimate of the mean. Not exactly the mean, but the estimate. Okay, and then you do like how you always do the calculation for the mean. 2.25 multiplied by 4 plus by 2.75 multiplied by 11. Continue all the way until the last number, 4.25 multiplied by 4, and then divide by 50. Okay, to make it quick, the answer is 3.26 kg. Next, find the estimate of the standard deviation. Alright, standard deviation. Some people are not so sure how to find the standard deviation. If you remember how to use it in the calculator, do so. It's only 1 mark. Okay. Otherwise, you can actually do the manual way. Okay. Either way are going to be quite long. Standard deviation equals to square root of. Okay, I actually prepare a long one for a good reason. Now, put down 2.25 multiply 4 plus by 2.75 multiply 11 all the way until 4.25 multiply by 4. Yeah, you can say that this is actually similar to how I find the mean, with a bit of extra stuff. Put a square for each value. Okay, 2.25 square multiply 4, 2.75 square multiply 11, and so on and so forth. Okay, then divide by 50, and then you minus by the mean square. Okay, this is how you find the standard deviation manually. Okay, you'll get 0.5 to 4 kg. Alright, explain what the mean and the standard deviation actually estimates. Okay, mean is to find out the average calculation of the weight of the babies. Okay, whereas the standard deviation is actually to find out the spread, the consistency of the mass of the babies born in the hospital. A newspaper article states that 90% of the newborn babies have a mass greater than 2.8 kg. Okay, comment whether it supports from this claim. 2.8 kg, I don't think that is actually quite heavy. 2.8 is... Okay, pay attention here, the horizontal 0.5 for 10 boxes. So 0.1 for 2 boxes. They want 2.8, right? So here 2.6, 2.7 and 2.8. Okay, drag this and drag this. 9. Okay, so there are 9 babies who are lesser than 2.8 kgs, and then there are 41 of them who are actually more than that. So in this data, we actually collected 41 out of 50 babies. Well, this doesn't reach 90% though. Well, this actually is 0.82, or that is 82%. So yeah, no, the data doesn't support the claim. The table gives information about the age of the mothers of the babies born under 30 and above 30, boy and girl. One of these mothers is selected at random. Find the fraction that the probability is under 30. Under 30. How many? 3 plus by 7. Okay, so there are 10 mamas out of how many? 3 plus 7 plus 9 plus 6, 25. Yeah, so it's 2 over 5. 2 of the mothers. Oh, be careful. You are picking 2 mothers, lah. Okay, meaning to say that once you take one of the mother, the second mother, you only have fewer number of people to pick. Okay, you'll see later. Probability that both of them are actually having a baby girl. Okay, baby girl 7 plus by 6. There are 13 of them. So 13 over 50 multiplied by 12 over 49. Okay, 49. Wait, we are having 25 mama here. My bad. 24. Okay. Yeah, multiply this, I got 13 over 50. They are both age 30 or over. 30 or over, so we are only looking here. But only one has a baby boy. So 1 boy and 1 girl. Okay. So to get a boy, 9 out of 25. To get a girl, 6 out of 24. Now, don't forget to multiply by 2. I believe a lot of people will forget to multiply by 2. Why do you need to multiply by 2? Because these 2 mothers are distinct, different, in terms of having a baby boy or a baby girl. Okay? So it's like, you can imagine that the first mom you pick is the one that gives birth to boy, and then the second is the girl. But it can be the other way around. You pick the girl first and then you pick the boy second. Okay? Now, how about the part 2a? They both have a baby girl. Why do I not multiply by 2? Because both of them are actually having the same gender, baby girl only. Unlike the part B, a boy and a girl. Okay, mean to say that if it's under the same criteria, you don't need to multiply by 2. Okay? But since they are unique here, boy and girl, you need to multiply by 2. Okay? Let's just say that there are 3 variables. Maybe there are the third gender, Apache helicopter, let's just say. Okay, then you need to multiply by, okay, some of you might think that if you have 3 genders, then you multiply this 3 times, right? So you multiply by 3 in the end. And no, you actually do not multiply by 3. Now, this is a very important concept for probability. Okay, it's not tested in here, but I just want you to know. If you have 3 unique things to actually practice to mix up, okay, think about it like A is A, B, and C. Okay, you actually can mix up like A, B, and C, A, C, and B, C, A, and B, C, B, and A, B, A, C, and B, C, A. Meaning to say that if you have 3 unique characteristics that you need to shuffle, consider the amount of times you actually can collect them, you multiply by 6, not multiply by 3. Okay, whereas if you only have 2 uniqueness, you only multiply by 2 because it's only A or B, and or getting a B or and then A. Yeah, so notice the difference here. Okay, last but not least, okay, Juan runs a business of selling sweets. The rectangle is here. She used a rectangular piece of 20 by 30, so the whole thing is 30, I guess. And then the mass of 1 square meter of the cardboard actually is 210. She cuts the square from each corner of the piece. She then folds it. By changing the size of the square, one can change the volume of the box. Okay, if you have difficulty of imagining why there is actually this shaded picture in the paper, this is the cardboard that you actually cut down. How do you actually make a box? Well, think about it that you actually are folding this dotted line are actually the part that you're going to fold upwards. Okay, if you fold it upwards, then you will get some kind of a box. Okay, work out the mass of the box when she cuts 5 cm. Okay, so if she cuts 5 cm, then it will be 30 minus 5 minus 5, 20. 20 minus 5 minus 5, 10. 20 times by 10, there will be the... Actually, you know what? I actually misread the question. They want the mass. The mass is actually depends on the area. So 30 times by 20 minus by 4 squares. 4 or 5 times 5. Okay, what will it be? 500 cm square. Okay, and then the question asks you to find out the mass of the box. 1 square meter for 200 grams. This is actually centimeter square. You make it to meter, you got 0.05 meter square. Okay, so the ratio is 1 meter square for 200 grams, 210 grams. You want a 0.05, so times by 0.05, you'll get 10.5 grams. Okay, next, one cuts a square of the side of x cm. Okay, cm, right? Okay, they didn't say, I just assume it's cm, on each side. So this is x. Okay, this is gonna be interesting. Show that the volume that she made is actually this. Okay, the volume of the box. Okay, now let's see that. Okay, I'm shading the area here, pay attention. This thing here will become the base of the box, because you see the other rectangles that I didn't shade is actually going to be folded up. Okay, standing. Okay, becomes the wall of the box. Okay, so the base of the box. Okay, let's just put it here. The base is 20 minus 2x multiplied by 30 minus 2x. Okay, do I need to expand this? No, I don't think I need to. Okay, you see that's here already. Then how about the height of the box? The height is x. Okay, because you're going to stand it up, right? Okay, then the xcm that you see there is going to become the height of the box. Hence, the volume is just this. Next, explain why x must be between 0 and 10. Okay, it's actually quite understandable because you see that the width of the box, the width of the rectangle is actually 20. If you cut more than 10, then there is nothing left. You got negative. Okay, you can also say that the width of this rectangle, okay, is actually 20 minus by 2x. Okay, so if x is actually more than 10, okay, then the width will become negative. Okay, 20 minus by 22, for example, when x is 11, okay, you got negative 2 as the width, which is actually not possible. And of course, x cannot be negative lah, so that's why they put 0 lesser than x lesser than 10. Okay, one wants to make a box with a volume of at least 900 cm3. She wants the mass to be as small as possible. How do you do that? By drawing a suitable graph. Okay, this is gonna be quite some time. So, and I also need a graph paper. Not that I actually have a graph paper, and not that I can actually draw it. Okay, I'm going to take a look on the answer first. Okay, so I'll just explain what is the answer sheet is actually providing. Okay, so x and then the volume of the box. Okay, I'm going to draw the equation y equals x, 20 minus 2x and 30 minus 2x just now. This is the volume of the box. Okay, yeah, you can use y or you can use v lah. By right, you usually have to write v, but I think they will not. Actually depends on they might actually. Anyway, just graph the curve. You get something like this. Oh, that's a terrible curve. Okay, it's not exactly a frowning curve lah. It's a little bit slanted like this. Yeah, a little bit slanted like this. The highest point is somewhere around 4. Okay, x equals 4 and y equals to 1000 something, around 1050 I guess, somewhere around that. Okay, yeah. So then one more thing, 900. Okay, 900. So I have two graphs, the curve and then the line of y equals 900. The question says that she wants the volume to be at the very least to be greater than 900. Meaning to say that if you look at the graph, right, this is the area that you actually want to have, such that the volume is actually greater than 900. Okay, and it's also made by the same cardboard. Okay, meaning to say it still follow the same formula to find the volume like just now. Okay, now the curve itself is actually drawn from x equals 0 until x equals 10. As you can see, that is also the positive area. You can draw this curve also by using the table. Okay, they don't provide the table here, which is why this question here is worth of a lot of marks. You need to prepare a lot of things. Okay, x equals 0, 1, 2, all the way until you put 10. Okay, you draw every single point, connect them, use your freehand, use your French curve, whatever you like. Okay, and then draw them. Alright, so then you got these locations here. Okay, now I have two coordinates here, which I think is also quite important. Somewhere around 2.3,900, and then over here, which is 5.7,900. Okay, so apparently we can actually take any area that I actually put in the highlighter, the pink color. But one last thing, they want to have the mass to be as small as possible. So is that actually any specific location that can help me to find out where the mass of the box is the smallest? Now, it's actually quite logical what you need to think. Remember, this question here is about you having a rectangle and you cut them. You dispose of a certain part of the box, of the rectangle. Meaning to say, if you want the lightest box, where it still holds the volume of 900. The part that you need to take is actually this location here, when the x is actually 5.7. This is the greatest value of x that you can cut and you still maintain the volume of 900 or greater. Okay, this is the value of x that you need to take. Okay, so work out the mass of the box that you will make. Okay, so first you need to find the volume. Okay, put down 5.7, 20 minus by 5.7 times 2 is 11.4, 30 minus by 11.4. Okay, and then actually, you know what, I got the volume already, it's 900. Why do I even need to actually count them, right? The volume is 900, so 900 cm cube. Okay, and then the area. Okay, again we need to find the area just like now. Okay, the area of this thing, just like the question A, you take the square, the rectangle, minus by what you are disposing of. So 30 times 20, and then minus by 4 of the squares that you cut. The squares have the set of 5.7 by 5.7. Okay, what do you get here? You'll get the area as 470.04 cm square, which is 0.4, sorry, you want to make it to meter square, yes, 0.047004 meter square. Okay, and then you need to convert them again. Just now the ratio that we use is this, and remember that in the end you just need to times it with what you want. Okay, meter square 1 grams 210. Okay, multiply it 0.047 and you do the same thing. You got a mass of 9.87 grams. And that's the mass of the box that you will make. I believe that's the last question. Alright, quite a tough paper 2 for 2018. Okay, some questions are quite difficult. Okay, so please let me know in the comments below if you notice something wrong with my working. Very possible that I got some careless mistakes here and there. Okay, and yeah, that's it for today. Hope you actually learn really well before the O-level starts. See you then, bye bye.